Welcome to Husker Storm Blog. It's week 5 in college football, and we're a third of the way through the season, so I'm going to talk about my top 10 and BCS Bowl predictions. And let's go ahead and review week 4. The Big Ten cannot wait to start conference play this next week. They had another awful week. Only 3 teams left undefeated: Ohio State, Minnesota, and Northwestern. One will lose this week. You can find out in a little bit. The other two will battle it out next week. You know, two unexpected final Big Ten teams that are going to be undefeated. Whiskey, Ohio State, and Michigan State both really struggled in matchups against overmatched opponents. Um, Michigan State is struggling in their passing game, and Kirk Ferentz's seat should be on fire right now. Iowa lost to Central Michigan, and they might not be bowl eligible this year. No, they won't be bowl eligible this year. Illinois got destroyed by Louisiana Tech, and Denard Robinson in Michigan lost to Notre Dame. That's what happens when you have a halfback playing quarterback. Both Michigan schools failed to get in the end zone in back-to-back weeks against Notre Dame. And right now, Nebraska's looking like the favorite for the Big Ten. They're the only team that doesn't have a glaring weakness. And they definitely have the best offense in the Big Ten. Florida State's defense came alive in the second half against Clemson as they cruised to victory. Oregon's underrated defense shut out U of A. LSU looked human and beatable, and they could have 2 losses this year. Oklahoma was not able to overcome unforced errors against K-State. USC got back on track. Oregon State has looked ridiculously well against the run. They faced UCLA this week. UCLA's got the top running back in the nation yards-wise going into last week, and they held him to like 2.4 yards a carry. They've got an impressive D-line right now, and that's 2 upsets in their first 2 games against top 25 teams. And now they get U of A this next week. ASU rolled Utah. Georgia and South Carolina look like their matchup could decide the East in the SEC, as they both rolled Missouri and Vanderbilt. Boise looked like trash on offense. They didn't even get an offensive touchdown in this one, as they could barely escape BYU. So my record last week was 10-3, which was pretty solid. I'm 37-16 on the year, all because of week 2 where I went 9-8. So let's talk about my top 10. I got Alabama at number 1. I've got Florida State at number 2. I like their defense and I like their run game. And E.J. Manuel is my Heisman frontrunner, along with Geno Smith. Oregon at number 3, Georgia at 4. I know that's kind of high, but LSU's not that great this year. LSU at 5, South Carolina at 6, West Virginia at 7, Kansas State at 8, Stanford at 9, Notre Dame at 10. 8, 9, and 10 could very easily be reversed. Kansas State's there. I could put Notre Dame there. I could put Stanford there. None of those teams are going to be there in a couple of weeks anyways. But they're just there right now because of their victories against top teams, or highly ranked teams at the time they played them. My BCS Bowls are Nebraska and Oregon in the Rose Bowl. I don't think Oregon goes undefeated. They looked human on offense in the first half. Now, I've always thought they've had a solid defense. They allow a lot of points because they're on the field a lot, and they like to put their second and third stringers out there early when they're up big time. But I think they lose a game this year, and I think Nebraska's got to be the favorite out of the Big Ten right now. The Fiesta, I got West Virginia winning the Big 12. They have the strongest offense, and offense wins championships in the Big 12. USC, I think they might lose one more game this year against Oregon. So they go 10-2 and get to the Fiesta Bowl. The Sugar, I've got LSU and Rutgers. LSU could very easily be South Carolina or Georgia in this one. I have faith that LSU is going to be able to step it up on offense. And Rutgers could very easily be Cincy or Louisville in this one. Those three will be deciding the Big East. I like Rutgers because of their defense, and they've been playing pretty good physical football. The Orange Bowl, Clemson and Kansas State. That means I have the national championship as Florida State and Alabama. I think Florida State is going to go undefeated. Now, Alabama could lose one. They have to go to Baton Rouge. They could lose that one. They play South Carolina. So they've got some tough games coming up. They got the SEC championship, which could be against Georgia or South Carolina, maybe even Florida. But those two have got to be the favorite to go to the national championship for me. So now let's get started on my Week 5 predictions. Stanford at Washington. I like this Thursday night game. I think these two will decide the number 2 spot in the Pac-12 North, with Oregon being the number 1 team there. Stanford's defense really impressed against USC, and the Huskies have loads of injuries, so their depth is really going to need to come through. I really like Keith Price. He's a stud, but he lacks playmakers around him. So if he can find a way to expose the lack of speed on the Stanford defense. USC wasn't able to do it, so I don't think Washington will be able to do it. And I think Stanford gets another W, 20-14. They are a 7-point favorite in that one, so I'd take the over. But right now my prediction's a 6-point, but I think they could win by more than that. Florida State, University of Southern Florida. Florida State can't sleep on Southern Florida, even though Southern Florida did just lose to Ball State. Southern Florida plays pretty decent defensively. I think Florida State does come out a little flat in this one, but they pull away 34-13. And Baylor at West Virginia. Geno Smith's first true test, but really, it's Baylor. Their defense is suspect. It's been non-existent in the past couple of years. Same with West Virginia's defense, and I think Geno's going to feast on that. I think both quarterbacks, Nick Florence has played pretty well in RG3's shoes. With Baylor, they're going to score points. It's going to be a shootout in Morgantown. I got West Virginia 63-41. Tennessee at Georgia. Tennessee's not back. Georgia's going to take this one 49-20. Ohio State at Michigan State. This one last year was a defensive battle. I expect the same in this one. Michigan State's going to have a good defense this year. They've had a good defense last year and the previous years. Ohio State's defense was supposed to be good this year. They've been really bad, to tell you the truth. Now they haven't allowed a whole lot of points, but their D-line is very good, but it hasn't played up to standards against the run especially. I think Braxton Miller's going to have a little success, but not a whole lot, because they got to get somebody else going in that backfield besides him. I don't think they do enough. I think Le'Veon Bell is going to get loads of touches, like usual. Andrew Maxwell must improve if this team wants to win the Big Ten. And I think Michigan State bounces back. And with their suffocating defense, Le'Veon Bell reaches 150 on the ground with 35 touches. And Ohio State needs to tackle better, because this kid's a stud. I'll take the Spartans on this one, 16-13. Texas at Oklahoma State. It's going to be a shootout. What else do you get in the Big 12? I'll take the Longhorns in this one. Oklahoma State's, they were overrated going into this year. Texas defense hasn't looked great, but I think they win this one 52-41. Wisconsin at Nebraska. Revenge is the name of this one. We got two crazy-looking uniforms in this one. I'm not a fan of either of them. They both had Pac-12 road losses. Wisconsin's looked bad on offense. Nebraska's looked bad on defense. That being said, Nebraska's going to wear down the Badgers' D and run away with this one, 27-13. Check out my prediction video that I'll have up on that game in a little bit. Louisville at Southern Miss. This is probably going to be a blowout. Louisville's played well so far this year, and Southern Miss has looked awful. Southern Miss can win this one. Maybe they can rebound after an 0-3 start. I'll take Louisville 45-14. Vodtech at Cincy. Vodtech already went on the road and played Pitt, a Big East team. Now they have to go on the road and play Cincinnati, a Big East team. And Cincinnati beat the tar out of Pitt. But I think this one's going to be a close one. But the Bearcats take this one. And Munchie does his job, running the ball well, being that dual threat quarterback that he is. 24-20, Cincinnati wins this one. Arkansas could lose 4 in a row here. And I think they do. I'll take the Aggies 38-31. And what a way to fall. A top 10 team might not even be bowl eligible at the end of this year. Missouri at University of Central Florida. The Tigers must clear their mind after what was a really disappointing first SEC road game, as South Carolina just destroyed them. The Knights have played pretty decent football, and I think they pull out the W in this one, 28-27. That's going to be a good game. That's the sleeper game this week. Oregon State at U of A. Oregon State they do have a suspect pass defense, but their rush defense is so good. Now, U of A is going to have to find a way to expose that, and I don't think they're going to get shut out, of course not. I think Oregon State's defense comes through enough. They win this one 31-28 on the road, 3 straight wins. That team's going to be climbing. Let's see how far they can, maintain this as they get into their conference schedule more. With teams like Stanford and Oregon and Washington. We'll see what they can do there. But that is it. Check out my Wisconsin-Nebraska prediction video. I'll have that up in a little bit. Thanks for watching. Go Big Red.